Hi, everybody. Welcome to the RP show on a Monday, as our viewers and listeners are saying, an overreaction Monday. I'm back home in the South Florida studio, and I'll tell you right now, it is a DuPont Media production. So if anything fails, blame him. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio. Moose, can we bring him in? Darren Moose DuPont. He's flying the ship from the Toronto studio, and it's been Moose. Just flew in from Las Vegas, and man, are my arms tired. That old joke. We don't have the sound effects from boom, but it's a true story. We're back from Super Bowl 58. We're ready to ease on in here on Game Plus TV and Key Radio and podcasts and streaming and talk about the wild weekend and all the big topics. But happy Monday, sir. I like the look of the show so far. You're doing a great job. Are you liking it?
Of course. It's great. I wouldn't have put it on if I didn't like it like this. And, whatever hiccups we may have along the way, it's still going to be 2 really good hours of sports talk. And this is the place to come and chat about Super Bowl and everything that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, buddy. Well, and as I'm sitting here right now, I got everything set up in a real, this was all my broadcast gear from Super Bowl, right? Said pack it, unpack it, pack it, flew all night. Red eye. I don't like doing that. If at all possible, I try not to do that. But I wanted to get home to be on the air for this show. And my gong and my bell, I'm looking at them. They're out here, out of my reach. So trust me, everybody, when I say, can we hit the quick 6 show horn? And away we go, Moose. Okay, I don't even have all my show topics ready to go. But let's be honest. When we open with the big story, the big one is Super Bowl, and a spoiler alert, we're going to get into Morgan Riley, Ridley Gregg coming up here in the Quick 6. And I should tell you that our guests today are Canada's foremost NFL insider, Jim Lang, and what are we calling him? Football aficionado to the stars, Coach Phil React's going to join us from Washington State to talk Super Bowl and probably some CFL too. But Darren, here is the big story. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Mahomes threw a 3-yard touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman with 3 seconds to go in overtime, and the Chiefs rallied to beat the San Francisco 49ers 25-22 Sunday in the second overtime game in Super Bowl history and becoming the first repeat champs in 19 years and 9th overall. And I'll just throw this in, Darren, because it is the wire copy. It's the news. I didn't write this, is my point. With pop star Taylor Swift watching boyfriend Travis Kelce from a suite, the Chiefs captured their 3rd Super Bowl title in 5 years and firmly established themselves as a dynasty. There is no doubt about that, man. And so I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the audience. What was your take on the game? I don't remember what Super Bowl it was, but it was known as Super Bowl. If we think we can go back and look at the scores of games, we could probably look up which one it was. And I'm sitting there watching the second half from the Las Vegas airport going, this could go down in history as Super Bowl. But it didn't, man. So Carlos in Indianapolis writes in and says, what a roller coaster of a game. It became that. And, your thoughts on Super Bowl 58?
It's not going to go down as an instant classic. It was a boring game for most of it. It really wasn't an entertaining game. It was not a classic. It was not a fun game to watch. But at the end of the day, it turned into one of the best finishes because we got overtime. We had some lead changes in the fourth quarter. And then we had the big drive at the end of the game. And the Chiefs found a way to win. I did not see that coming. Not that I didn't see a Chiefs win coming. But as you watch that game, it kind of felt like all of a sudden, it kind of came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, boom, they're in the end zone and the game's over. And Travis and Taylor are making out on the field and all the rest. And it was a great story, but not a Picasso of a 60 some odd minute painting.
Well, when you say that, you didn't know who was going to win right down to the ending. But I will say this. 49ers get their field goal on the opening possession of overtime, and then you're putting the ball in the hands of Patrick Mahomes to win a game with a touchdown drive. I don't care who you're playing. If it's the San Francisco 49ers or it's the Brothers and Sisters Nuns Against Humanity School for the Blind, I don't care. Mahomes is going to do it. Or at the very, that has been his history that he can do it. And he did it again. And I think it was on that drive, did he not scramble for 2 first downs with his legs alone? There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can or even will do that. Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak is in that stratosphere financially. Lamar Jackson's in that stratosphere financially. But when the game is on the line and you put the ball in their hands and say, go win it, Patrick Mahomes does it. And a lot of other guys who have gotten the bag don't. So I want to say this, and thank you for the people that are tuning in. My guys, Chris from the Bronx, he asked me how my flight home was. Look, we all have our opinions on the game. Everybody wants to hear the stories, and I'm getting to that. But I'll say this. I'm not sick of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not sick of Andy Reid. I'm not sick of Travis Kelce, and I'm not even sick of Taylor Swift. But what I will say is this. Being herded like cattle through the Las Vegas airport and then landing here in Miami, it felt like a swarm, a sea of millions of people. And you look over their shoulder at their phones, and what do I see on everybody's phone is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, embracing, or Mahomes. Like, you don't understand. It's not just yours and my world and our little community here. It's everybody's world. They are front and center for everybody. And maybe at some point I'll get sick of it. And I know there are people that are, but I'm not. You're talking about a fairy tale love story. You're talking about a coach and a quarterback that have become iconic, and they've done it by winning the right way. They haven't been caught deflating footballs or spying on the other team that I know of. So if you don't like these guys, Darren, why would you not like this story? Why would you not like this story?
I know it's a good story, and the thing about the Super Bowl is we can always find a good story. But this is a good story. You had so much attention on it. To be honest, you had a lot of people cheering for the Chiefs because of the facts that you talked about, and simply because of Taylor Swift and the love story with Travis Kelce. You had a lot of people cheering for the 49ers too, simply because they hated seeing Taylor Swift in the booth, which makes for a great game when you got people on both sides. You had people cheering for Brock Purdy because, to try and escape the narrative that he's a game manager or he's not that good. But for the most part, this was a game played on the defensive side of the football most of the game. It wasn't played by Travis Kelce or George Kittle or Brock Purdy or Patrick Mahomes. It was played by defenses, and at the end, a nice fairy tale ending for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, again, I can see why people might be tired of it, but I'm not for it. I'm not against it. I'm like, you got to give them their due for what they've done. All of them is what I'm saying. Now, I want to say this. This is where it gets real, man. And I'm not looking back. I mean, you saw the posts where I said, hey, Mom, we finally made it. We're broadcasting from Super Bowl. That meant a lot to my family and the friends of my parents who aren't with us anymore, because they know this has been a real long journey of mine since I was 6 years old, wanting to do this and to do it at the highest level meant a lot, So I want to go. I plan to be at Super Bowl every year, and next year it's in New Orleans. I've already been hired to work it. So, hey, for the next year, I can tout that. Doing this show from Radio Row was amazing. Go ahead and ask me what my highlight is of Radio Row. Thanks for asking. It was running into Flava Fave, which, to be honest, I thought for 30 years it was Flavor Fave, and it's not. It's Flavor Flav. Did you know that? Or did you?
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So, yeah. So just to resurrect that, everybody has an opinion, I feel, of Flavor Flav. And I guess if you're young enough, you don't know who it is. I think you know who he is. I mean, I don't get so enamored. Calm down, Rod. Now I'm getting excited. To me, to see Joe Montana and the absolute waves of thousands of 49ers fans just walking in his wake. Like, I walked through the NFL experience on Saturday afternoon with my friend Dean and his wife Deb and their son Jordan, and we ran into this sea of 49ers fans, literally like a sea of them, dude. At 10,000, and they were all and they're all hot and bothered, and they had their phones out, and I'm like, what are you guys in a lineup to get drinks? because that's what it looked like. And the guy's like, no, it's Montana. Ooh, I get it. 4 Super Bowls. Trust me, I do. Patrick Mahomes hasn't even caught Joe Montana. But to me, he's just another football guy. So I'm not downgrading that, but you know what I mean. I've been around those guys my whole life. I enjoyed seeing Dan Marino and all those guys. But my point is the entertainers are the ones that get me all horny. Flavor Flav? Really? He's not that tall. Oh, he looks really good. Jump into Wikipedia to see how old he is, and he's like in his late 60s, I think. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's the kind of stuff that excites me. You know, so seeing that was great, but weaving our way through the thousands of masses to get into NFL experience and being shoulder to shoulder, it was good for a while, but we were there for an hour. And then we met, you know how we do, Darren. We're like, let's split up and we'll meet here in an hour. And then we'll decide if we're going to stay. Or everybody was ready to go after we're done. Right. And then we're walking the halls of Mandalay Bay, which I love how it's all linked now. You don't need to go outside because I've been a weather suck. From the Mandalay Bay right into the Luxor, right into the Excalibur. And you got this was getting to be late Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. And I'll be honest, let's go Niners. You know, and I'm like, Jordan was like, did he say let's go Riders? No, Niners. And I'm like, you know what? Fans are fans wherever you go. So you've seen it at Grey Cup. It's no different. It's the same at Super Bowl, but just to scale, it's 1,000 times more. And to be honest, the people with the chains around their neck and the signs and the painted faces and are getting hammered and all that, it was annoying when I was drinking. Now that I'm not, it's freaking unbearable. Like and add Vegas on top of it. Right? Lights, showgirls, this and that, people jamming stuff in your face. So we got out of there, you know, had a Mexican supper and then went and we watched Saturday Night Live all night. It was like a Travis Kelce special. Were you home Saturday night? What did you do Saturday? Did you see the Travis Kelce special on NBC?
No, I didn't even know it was on NBC.
Yeah, well,
otherwise I might have tuned in.
But listen, I only know Travis Kelce as a football player. I didn't realize that he'd been hosting SNL for years and doing all these skits. He's a hell of a good actor and a great guy. That guy, if anybody ever told you God created us all equal, they're lying because he didn't. Now, and then to Super Bowl Sunday, my tradition has always been this, and I've loved it for years, sitting down, plunking my ass on the couch and watching NFL Network 24/7. Pretty much from the moment those guys show up at Super Bowl till kickoff. I just love watching it. I didn't do that because I was there. It's a really big difference when you're there. You know what I meant? Like I didn't have time. I was working this event from noon till 3:30, the Sober Bowl, and it was with Earl Campbell and Brandon Mitchell and Lee Steinberg and Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch, and and comedian Craig Gass. Like it was a really big deal. And let me just tell you this, Darren. Full disclosure, people are tuned in here because I tell the truth and I'm real. I only knew Earl Campbell by reputation because he was prominent in the late 70s and early 80s. I wasn't watching football then, and if I was, it was the CFL. We didn't get it on the farm in Canada. So once I got into pro football, all of a sudden, Earl Campbell is, of course, this hallowed name, right? That's your franchise. I would imagine he's your franchise's all-time rushing leader. He has to be, right? He's top 5 all-time NFL. So he's there. And I meant to bring my shades. Do I have them here? I think I do. As a prop. No, I don't. I don't have my shades. I must tuck them away somewhere. But I walked up to him before the event. He's in a motorized scooter. Almost 10,000 rushing yards. He might have a problem with his hips and knees. You know what I mean? In his motorized scooter, he's got his sunglasses. Think Ray Charles. Think Ray Charles. So I walked up. I'm like, Mr. Campbell, can I get my picture taken with you? And he's this. I'm like, did he die? Did he hear me? He didn't even move. But I was just another one of those guys asking for a photo. You know what I mean? He didn't even move. I put my arm around him. He didn't even move. This is before the event. And then when we get out on the stage and they're going, oh, here's Brandon Mitchell. He won a Super Bowl. He played with the Giants and the Patriots. Here's Earl Campbell. Pro Football Hall of Fame, 1991. And here's this other guy, Rod. But I started telling my story, and Earl starts laughing. He starts pounding his knee. All of a sudden, did you see the photo of us after? We're popping wheelies on that thing, right? But it was just funny because we cracked that door of, oh, hey, we got something in common, huh? Yeah. He's got 14 years in recovery. I got 9 years in recovery, and Brandon Mitchell's got 14 years in recovery. All of a sudden, we're telling stories. Quick, funny story. Earl goes, I used to come back from Super Bowl because I've been to a million of these things. And it doesn't matter. I wouldn't be in the house 15 minutes, and my wife would know something I'd done, or my kid would know, somebody would have told him something I'd done. And I said, thank God you're doing good things now, right? And Brandon Mitchell hits the floor. The crowd laughs. Oh, my God. Yeah. So we didn't even talk about the damn game. We didn't even get a prediction of Chiefs and 49ers because some things are bigger than football, and none of us should be alive to tell the story, but we are, so we celebrate it. And thanks for coming to my TED Talk of recovery. When we come back, we'll get into Morgan Riley, because to be honest, even at Super Bowl 58, you couldn't escape that talk. People weren't talking about it there, at least in my vortex. Morgan Riley, Ridley Gregg, and every other sports topic when we come back. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network. It's a DuPont Media production, and if I say so, he's doing a hell of a job. We're also live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
RP Show continues on a Monday. And by the way, yes, we do not have our usual production arm, IKS Media, today. So I appreciate those hanging with us. You're getting the moral of the story. And we'll be back with our normal crew flying the Millennium Falcon on Tuesday. But it's daytime sports talk. And I know for a fact we're coming at you live on Game Plus TV. Key Radio in Atlanta and the streams. And it was nice meeting some of our Game Plus TV brethren as we bring in Darren Moose DuPont. He continues co-hosting from the Toronto studio. I did meet Gil Alexander and Kelly and those guys. And before we switch over to hockey, and I want to clarify something, those guys from VEASAN Follow the Numbers, which airs just before our show every morning out of Las Vegas every day. Like everybody left last night and today, they're still there because they live there. So they had the nice set. And what do you know about VEASAN? Does not Brent Musburger own it and lives in Vegas? What do you know about VEASAN, the company that owns that show and that production company?
Not as much as I'd like to, but I think Brent Musburger is a player there or has been a part of that in the past. I'll tell you this. I saw a lot of Brent Musburger in the coverage throughout the week. He was all over the pregame show on CBS, doing one-on-one interviews. He was guesting on every show, it felt like, that we saw around there. I saw a lot of Brent Musburger.
Last I knew, he's the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders on radio. So that's his town, right? And I think he owns that. So it was nice to meet those guys. And for the Radio Row thing, so many people have the questions. What was it like? You know, we'd never been there before. We checked that out in LA 2 years ago, but we never broadcast from there like we did this year. It's like a convention with all these trade tables on the inside, but on the outside, outer excursion is all the big sets like Pat McAfee and Follow the Numbers from VEASAN and you name it. Sirius XM Radio, CBS Sports Radio, all that. So when I said, and Darren turned it into a meme over the weekend, and I got a fair amount of reaction, I want the Pat McAfee treatment at Grey Cup next year. It's this. I want to broadcast live from the convention center, and I want no interference from the rights holder of the Canadian Football League, because we have had that in the past. It's part of the reason why we're not doing it. And if you don't understand what that means, you never will. So I'll just say that. And I want, like we had at the last Grey Cup we broadcast at, where they're bringing through the players, just like they did with Pat McAfee. And he had Kenny Chesney on the other day, as I noticed on Friday. That's what I want at Grey Cup. If that's too much to ask, then we won't go or we won't do it. But we're on national television. He's on national television. He's a football guy. I'm a football guy. Why can't we do the same thing? That's what I want. You knew when I said that, Darren, that's what I meant, right?
Of course. We want this to be a big deal. Grey Cup deserves it. I think we, as a show, we always take Grey Cup very seriously, and we know it's a big week on our calendar. As much as Super Bowl, is one of our most watched weeks, Grey Cup is also one of our most viewed weeks on the network. We've seen that in the numbers. So, yeah, and the fans deserve it. It's another thing that they can get up and be a part of. And what's going to be great is our show doesn't change. We're on at noon out here in the West Coast, but for the fans at Grey Cup, it's going to be a little different in Vancouver because we're on at 9 a.m. out there on the West Coast. So it's going to be an opportunity to get your day started, meet some players, come around, create that atmosphere. So make your plans to be in Vancouver, because from hearing what they're going to be doing with their Grey Cup Festival and what you just said we're going to be doing with this show, Grey Cup in November, book your tickets now because it's going to be big.
I'm going to get to the viewer comments here in a second, but I think it's time people know, because I'm tired of it and I don't need it, as evidenced by working Super Bowl events and broadcasting live from NFL events on the weekend. I don't need this. You say the fans deserve it. The CFL players deserve it, and the coaches deserve it. And we've got players trying to get on this show left and right all the time. You should see our inbox, our DMs, who's sliding into our DMs. We had a guy lined up today, and he went to clear it through his team, and they nixed it. And I'm sure they have the team nixed it. And I'm sure they have their own reasons, but I'm just tired of it. So CFL players want to get on this show, and the teams are running interference. And I don't. So when the CFL has its winter meetings and they talk about this type of stuff from a business perspective, I hope you're bringing this up because I am so done with it. Okay. From the text line, 902-518-3333 for Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. Will Finn, Steinbach, Manitoba says, hi, Rod and Moose. Travis Kelce thinks the Chiefs are all about him. Disgraceful treatment of his coach. Riley needs to be suspended for 3 games regarding Morgan Riley. Listen, you can't. I saw the thing with Kelce. That was right after the turnover inside the 10, right? And was it ever explained why Travis Kelce was in the ear of Andy Reid? Like, that stuff doesn't bother me. If you've ever been heat of the moment, not to use war terms, but on the front lines in sports, I was with a firefighter all weekend. They yell at each other in the heat of the moment. We yell at each other in broadcasting in the heat of that happens, guy. Way, way, way too much has been made of Travis Kelce yelling at Andy Reid on the sideline, in my mind. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was a moment of frustration, something we don't see, especially with the Chiefs, who have such a good unit. But we don't know all the information. We don't know really what happened down there. And I would go as far to say something happened that was different than they usually see. Something was missed. And also the circumstances. That team was kind of coming unraveled at that point. You know, you look at early in that game, through the first half, even 3 quarters, Patrick Mahomes threw an interception. They fumbled near their own goal line. They caught a pass for 6 yards, and the receiver ended up running, not going down, and it turned into a 4-yard loss. There was a lot of frustrating things that happened. Travis Kelce wasn't really involved. He was being, shut out of the game, and maybe he saw something, and Andy Reid was just not listening to him, and that was different. There's a number of things that could go into it, but it's not about necessarily the bad moments that happen. It's about how do you respond when they happen. And clearly the Chiefs were able to take that, navigate that experience, and all come together and win the football game. So clearly their conflict management or conflict resolution skills are at a high level, because it's not about avoiding those blow-ups. It's about how do you have the blow-ups and still move forward. They know how to do it.
Right. If you can't get past that, you're going nowhere. FYI. Kevin, the medium, has checked in. He says, happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday, Kevin. Sorry I missed you here in Florida. How about that? From our boss, Joe Gunnis, he writes in and he says, where does Andy Reid rate in the best coaches of all time in the NFL? Well, you got 3 Super Bowls, and he went to another he lost one with the Chiefs, so he's been to 4, won 3 with them, went to the Super Bowl with the Eagles. He's up there. We're not putting him, I don't think, on the Mount Rushmore, but he's pretty damn great. How about that? Alan in Saskatoon says, Rod, that great story of Mr. Earl Campbell, but so true of celebs until you get to know them. Your story of recovery is amazing, as I know. He couldn't have cared less, Earl Campbell, until we got talking. Oh, yeah. And he's like revving his scooter later in the day. Oh, God. From the Gooch, he writes in and says, Rod, you sweat greed. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to take that as a compliment, because all these sports leagues that are taking home billions upon billions upon billions of dollars sweat greed as well. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you. Our poll question today, by the way, is for Key Auto Group. At Key Auto Group, they're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for automotive excellence. I don't totally know. It was Clark's idea, and he's not producing the show today, but he goes, who's the real MVP of the Super Bowl? Was it Andy Reid? Was it Patrick Mahomes? His other option was Travis Kelce, was it not? And Darren, do you remember what he had? I know people are voting on it on YouTube when they join this stream.
He had Chris Jones, the defensive lineman that was a disruptive force.
Ah, right. I'm still going to say Patrick Mahomes, because he's the one that engineered the game-winning touchdown drive. End of story. It's Mahomes. They got it right. The football voters very usually get it right. Wayne in BC says, I can't understand why a team would nix an interview on the RP show. They definitely don't want to promote the CFL. I don't know either, Wayne, but as we sit here today, can we officially say, I'm over it? We have players asking to come on, teams blocking it. Maybe people don't like that I'm saying it. I don't care. Because, again, I'm over dealing with that crap. To what we said we were going to deal with. Shane Pinto had a goal and 2 assists, and Ottawa beat Toronto Saturday night in a game that ended with Maple Leafs defenseman Morgan Riley cross-checking Ridley Gregg for firing a slap shot into an empty net. It was an empty netter. Gregg scored with 5.1 seconds to go, racing down the middle and firing a slap shot from short range into the empty net. As the Ottawa player headed back up the 8 boards toward the bench, Riley came across the ice and hit him high with the cross-check. Toronto set out receiver Ryan Reeves for the final face-off, but the officials quickly jumped in to prevent a brawl. Again, that's the Wire story. I wasn't watching it, but I hadn't even gone to bed that night, Saturday night, and it was on my phone. So I saw the clip, and I guess it's the Rod Pedersen show, so you want my opinion. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this, so I don't know why people want my opinion, but I'll give it to you anyways. Told Darren, put this into a meme. Ridley Gregg didn't do anything wrong for firing a slap shot into the empty net, and Morgan Riley didn't do anything wrong for chasing him across the ice and cross-checking him in the head. Now, where I come from and with what I grew up with, that was Thursday. Not a big deal. It was Terrell Owens dancing on the star at Cowboy Stadium as a member of the 49ers. You can do it, but you're going to be picking up your teeth with a broken arm, right? It's the exact same scenario to me, Darren. You mess with the bull, you get the horn. Eye for an eye. Now, I guess Riley's got his in-person hearing today. I mean, did you die? Didn't hurt him, and he had it coming. So I don't understand how this is even a debatable topic to me. You?
I know. It's so polarizing because of the way that the game has changed. I look at it a couple different ways. You know, on the one hand, you see all the comments. He scored into an empty net. Big deal. Well, he didn't score into an empty net. He fired a slap shot to rub it in their face, you know, that they were beating the Leafs. And that's a big rival. And let's be honest, it pissed them off, the Leafs. And, you know, from a Toronto standpoint, what's been the book on them? They're soft. They don't fight back. They don't show any grit. They don't show any tenacity. They don't show any want to. So seeing this from Morgan Riley, seeing them get mad and upset that he took a liberty to rub it in that they were winning the game, that was a good thing for Leaf fans to see that, because it showed that they cared, that they were mad. You know, like the question around Toronto is, do you even care if you lose the game? Or are you more worried about hanging out with Justin Bieber? You know, do you even care if you win or lose?
Yeah.
Well, that showed me that Morgan Riley cares and hates to lose. So that was a good thing. Now, am I advocating for cross-checking people in the face? Never. You know, jump them, have a fight, push, you know, slam them into the boards, you know, cross-check him in the arms. I'm not going to, I don't think he should have cross-checked him in the face. But going after him, yeah, I'm totally cool with it. And you know what? I'm cool with him getting suspended too. A little bit disheartened that he's getting an in-person hearing, because it means he's getting at least 5 games for somebody who has a very clean record, who's never, I don't think, ever been suspended, let alone taken many penalties. You know, I thought, you know, this would be worthy of 2 or 3 games simply because of who he is.
We'll find out today how seriously the NHL takes it. I don't think he was in the wrong. I don't think he should get anything. We got a break, and we'll bring in Jim Lang. Just a couple of comments. Gooch writes in regarding, he says, I sweat greed. And I said, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. The Gooch says, I read a book where greed was wrong. No, it is. You're just saying you think that I'm greedy, but I don't care what you think. See, you can think whatever you want. I'm taking it as a compliment, but I don't give 2 squirts of sweat for what you think about me. That's my point. We got more, including cold weather in Las Vegas. And John in Edmonton writes in, he says, rumor from Super Bowls that the NFL is only taking the big game to stadiums in warm climate cities in the USA. Is that a good idea or not? Well, they thought they were. Vegas was supposed to be that, but it was cold enough to freeze the nuts off a cultivator, as they say in our motherland. We'll be back in a moment. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445 or log on to deervalleygolf.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues on this Monday, and let's bring him in. Everybody talking Super Bowl. We'll get to that with Canada's foremost NFL insider, Jim Lang, but he's also a multi-time best-selling author of hockey books, including Leaf books. And Jim Lang, welcome to the program. I want to start right there with Morgan Riley, Ridley, Greg, and if I may, Brent Waltman is watching in Wellington, Florida, and he writes in, he says, 15 years ago, this would not even be mentioned. Riley took the liberty to let him know that it wasn't acceptable. Move on. Seems like everybody has an opinion on what happened Saturday night in that Leafs-Sens game. What's yours, Jim?
Morgan Riley's crime was hitting him in the head. I mean, the NHL, the NFL, all sports leagues have cracked down on head and neck shots. You can't go anywhere near a head or a neck, and in the NFL, it's a 15-year penalty. In the NHL, they're really trying to reduce the amount of head injuries, concussions, brain injuries. And once he brings the stick up to the neck and the head region, well, that's suspendable. That's They'll suspend it all the time. If he cross-checks him in the shoulder, hammers him into the board, yells at him, he might get kicked out of the game. But we're not talking the suspension that we are right now. It's because he went for the head. And the league has made it quite clear to coaches and players that you just don't target the head. Targeting the head, you will get suspended. There's just, whether fans like it or not, old school or not, that's the new way of doing things because they're trying to reduce the number of head injuries and brain injuries.
I love the explanation. Yeah, times change, but I don't necessarily have to change to go with it. So that's what I think. He had it coming. So you get what you get. What do you think he's going to get for discipline?
The fact it's an in-person hearing, it's got to be at least 5 games. If it was 3 games, 2 games, they would have just called them on the phone and told them. The fact it's in person probably means it's going to be a fairly lengthy suspension for Morgan Riley. Otherwise, why go to all that trouble? So my guess is 5 or 6 games.
Okay. And how do you feel about what he did?
Greg was in the wrong. I mean, come on. You are taunting the other team. And I'm not care what level of hockey you're at. You do something like that, you're probably going to get some sort of retribution. The only problem I had was Morgan Riley just went about it the wrong way and put him in a position to be suspended. But Ridley Gray can't do something like that and not expect something to happen. You just can't, especially at the NHL in that kind of situation. I mean, both teams are rivals, and I mean, back in the day, it would have been a Pier 6 brawl at the best of times. Well, first of all, back in the day, you probably wouldn't even attempted something like that, knowing what would happen.
Right. Yeah. So you talk about how things have changed. They haven't necessarily changed for the better. You're going to have more of this. Hey, back in the day, if you tried in Michigan, same thing. You'd have been picking your teeth up with a broken arm. But now the Stars are doing it. Yeah.
And you hear older players, and then say back in the 80s and 90s, you take the slap shot, empty net, some guy goes after you, your teammates are going, what are you doing? Why would you do that? Now I'm going to have to fight this guy. I'm going to have to fight this guy. You're putting me in a bad position because you were a bonehead. So there's a lot of people at fault here, but we'll find out the Department of Player Safety in the NHL doesn't exactly have a 5-star sterling reputation for how they do things, but we'll see what happens when they lay down their justice.
Our guy Joe, our boss, wrote in and says, where does this leave Andy Reid in the pantheon of all-time NFL coaches? And I brought up his 3 Super Bowl titles with the Chiefs, 2 more appearances that he lost, one with the Chiefs and the Eagles, and Kirk in Saskatoon writes in and says Andy Reid has a Super Bowl ring as an assistant coach in Green Bay in '97. Unfortunately, they don't count what you've done as an assistant coach. I think they should, but they don't. But what is this from a historical perspective? What does this mean for Reid and Mahomes?
Well, Mahomes has accomplished so much at the age of 28. It almost defies belief. Like, he's in the Joe Montana pantheon of quarterbacks with 3 Super Bowl MVPs at the age of 28. I'll get more to Mahomes in a second, but Andy Reid is a great example of a coach who in Philadelphia had great success, couldn't win the big one, comes to Kansas City and adapts and changes and has a perfect marriage with coach and quarterback and has adapted as well. And for a guy, he's not a 35, 36-year-old whiz kid coach like you see all these hires in the NFL. Forget Sean McVay was so young, but he relates to his young players, relates to players of different backgrounds, different ages, fringe players, superstars, and his ability to adapt in game and be prepared is phenomenal. He has to rank as one of the all-time great coaches in the NFL because of his longevity, all the games he won in Philadelphia, all the games he's won in Kansas City, all the championships. Here's a perfect example why Andy Reid is special. After the game, a lot was made the fact that 49ers admitted they weren't prepared for the overtime rules and the players weren't prepared. Whereas Chris Jones and the Chiefs said they talked about it in training camp, said, hey, if we ever get to the Super Bowl, this is what the scenario is. In the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, they spent part of their meetings and practices going over. It's the Super Bowl. It's overtime. They score. This is what we do. And so the players were totally right. Well, except for McCole Hardman, who didn't react at first because he wasn't sure whether they won or not. But all the key players, all the star players, the bulk of the team knew exactly what the scenario was, what the coaches wanted for them, what the plan was. That goes to Andy Reid and just knowing situational football. This is why everyone talked about why Bill Belichick was so good for so many years, Rod, is he went over every possible situation with the team. So when it happens in a game and everyone's physically, emotionally, and mentally exhausted, they know what to do.
I was laughing because it reminded me of all my time, and you worked in the CFL too, of when blunders happened in games and the fans would go, how did they not know? Were they not prepared? No, they weren't prepared by their coach, right? So, hey, only time for one more question. A guy leaned over to me. You brought up Belichick. A guy leaned over to me on the weekend in Vegas, and he goes, what do we make of the fact that Belichick's not coaching this year?
That's a great question.
Yeah. What would you answer?
Maybe just there wasn't the right fit for him. Now, he had multiple interviews, but at the end of the day, it's what does he want and what does the owner and the team want? Because if you're dealing with one of the all-time legends of coaches in all of sports, not just the NFL, who's going to have certain things he needs. It's not just money. He wants money and this to coach his team. And maybe the marriage between the owner and the team and Belichick wasn't there this offseason. By all accounts, he still wants to coach. I know he still wants to break that Don Shula all-time record. So he needs to coach a couple more years to do that, to have the all-time wins record in the regular season. So maybe next season, as we always see 5 to 7 head coaching jobs come open, that they'll be the perfect marriage for Belichick, owner, and team, and he has a job next year.
You've been to how many Super Bowls? 5?
Five,
if I have that
yes.
right? Yeah. Did you get a pang of wishing you were there this weekend, or are you like so many of my friends? They're like, I'm over it. No, they weren't. They'd been to so many that they didn't miss it.
No, I mean, there's always a little bit, Rod. I mean, it's a very different feeling being there, covering it as a reporter. There's certain things you're privy to, certain things you miss because there's so much going on. The one thing that always sticks with me, and they had a camera shot of one of the 49ers players who wouldn't leave the bench and he's being doused with the confetti. I remember Super Bowl 42 and what happened, and the Tom Brady and the Patriots walking by us before we ran on the field to interview the New York Giants. And I mean, you've never seen sadder human beings than the team that just lost a Super Bowl right at the very end. I saw the same thing the next year with Kurt Warner and the Cardinals after they got beat by Santonio Holmes and Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. And that's a long walk from the field by all the reporters. And it's almost like a funeral-like setting. You could hear pin drop because no one wants to make a noise as they walk to their dressing room and deal with the aftermath of that loss. And it's the human element of it that you forget that they're athletes, but they're human beings. And they, by game time, they've brought friends and family to the stadium on the hopes that they will celebrate, and for the victors go the spoils, and they have the on the field celebration and the parties. But there's two teams there, and so that's why you see so many teams that lose the Super Bowl, how tough it is to come back the next year, because it takes so much out of you in so many levels that it's not easy to come back the next year and go all the way back to the Super Bowl.
Well, you brought up TB12. If anybody noticed, I didn't see any photos of Tom Brady at Super Bowl this weekend. I didn't hear that he was there. He's a guy that he's been to so many. I think, like, I'm over it. I don't think he was there.
No, I don't think he was either. I know he was in a couple commercials, and I know he's talked about he is deep into preparation to work as the lead analyst for Fox Football. And he has actually gone to the trouble of going to games without anyone knowing about it and calling mock games and doing the analysis for mock games and watching it back. So this is going back to his football preparation, where you look at game film and he's trying to be a better analyst. And he actually was in an interview with Steve Young during Super Bowl week that if any real football junkie wants to know what kind of analyst that Tom Brady is going to be, check it out. And he talks about when a quarterback pulls the ball down and runs, that it's not necessarily a good thing. It's because the quarterback didn't make a good pre-snap read. And you're like, oh, and that's giving knowledge in a really easy to understand but impactful way. And I think he's going to be a great analyst. Fox has the Super Bowl next year in New Orleans, and I'm really looking forward to see what he brings to the game, because he will see stuff and understand and break it down. And I've always thought that when Tom is talking X's and O's, he'll talk X and O's with a coach maybe differently than the average person, because he knows that they're speaking a language the average person would never understand.
We're going to find out. Jim, wonderful visit, my friend. Thanks for jumping on, man. Always good seeing you.
See you, Rod. Take care.
The great Jim Lang. We'll be right back with the audience takeover and sports update after this. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Thanks for being with us today, everybody. Hope you're having as much fun as we are on the old RP show. It's audience takeover time, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I want to read a sports update, too. We don't have a lot of time in this segment. This is one thing, with Kirk and Saskatoon's comment that Andy Reid has a Super Bowl ring as an assistant coach with Green Bay in 1997. And I said they don't count those rings when you're talking about all-time greats. I don't like that. And I'll give you an example. My very close and dear friend, George Cortez, has 5 Grey Cup rings as a coordinator in the Canadian Football League. At least 5, maybe 4. I think 4 with Calgary, 1 with the Riders. We were together in 2013. But he's not in the Hall of Fame, the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. So this isn't a CFL thing per se. I think it's a pro football thing. But how do you not put a guy like that in the Hall of Fame? He's not a head coach. Who cares? He had as much or more to do with those championships than Jeff Garcia or Wally Buono. It's a fact. Ask them. That sticks in my craw, but they just don't take into account even for quarterbacks. If you're a backup quarterback, they don't. But that's different. The backup quarterback didn't have the impact that a coordinator had. Huge problem that I have. And I'll say this again. We had a CFL player, an all-star, who wanted to come on. Was lined up to come on today. He ran it through his team, and they nixed it. And it's not, we get along with that team. I want to make that very clear. We are friends with that team. It wasn't a personal thing. I don't know why they did it, but we're not talking CFL in that space because the team nixed it. Max in Toronto writes in and he says, the RP show is one of the few outlets that keeps the CFL conversation going year round. Yeah, you and I know that. But for whatever reason, they don't care. Max goes on to say, we want you at the Grey Cup too, Rod. Darren said it in a break. Maybe this will be an issue then, but we'll deal with the teams that have no problem putting their players on, and you'll find out who those teams are, because there are teams that don't have a problem with it. And I don't know why this team nixed their player today, but it's hurting the team, the player in the CFL. I don't get it. But trust me, I'm past it. Sports update, the red-hot Calgary Flames visit the equally hot New York Rangers in one of 4 games in the NHL tonight. Both the Flames and Rangers are carrying 4-game win streaks into the contest. Elsewhere, Phoenix is at Philadelphia, Seattle's in New Jersey, and Minnesota visits Vegas. NBA super rookie Victor Wembanyama pays his first visit to Toronto as the Raptors entertain the San Antonio Spurs. The 7'4" Wembanyama leads all rookies in scoring and rebounding, averaging 20.3 points and 10 boards per game. Our sports updates are brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And for Landmark Cinemas, in theaters now, Argyle, an introverted spy novelist, is drawn into the activities of a sinister underground syndicate. Starring Samuel L. Jackson, Bryan Cranston, and John Cena, Argyle is in Landmark Cinemas now. Hour 2 coming up after this break. We'll be right back on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to hour 2 of the RP Show, coming to you on our normal channels, Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live. If you're watching the show, you'll notice a slightly different look. Our normal production crew not available today, IKS Production Regina. It's DuPont Media running the show today, and I can handle it here for a while. This is perfect. I saw Moose just got up from his chair, and now he's back. You're good, Moose. We can handle it. It's live television, y'all. And we were joking in the break. Are you on screen? That's the one thing I can't see. Let's bring Moose in on screen. He said in the break, I said we've only talked about 2 things today. Kansas City winning Super Bowl 58, beating San Francisco 25-22, and then Morgan Riley cross-checking Ridley Gregg, Toronto Maple Leafs defenseman, cross-checking Senators forward Ridley Mark Gregg is his dad, Ridley, in the face for rubbing it in the Leafs' face the other night, slap-shotting it with an exclamation point into the empty net, and it touches off this melee. And as we sit here today, we wait to hear the discipline for Morgan Riley. And I thought it was, again, for those that, I don't even think I need to walk this back and not dumb it down per se that don't follow it, but it was like Terrell Owens dancing on the star while a member of the 49ers in Dallas against the Cowboys. Ridley Gregg of Ottawa goes down. It's an empty net. He slap shots it in, rubs it in the face of the Leafs. He's not even looking, skates around to celebrate and go to the bench. And Morgan Riley comes across the ice and just cross-checks him right in the face. He gave it to that guy. I didn't have a problem with either one of what they did. That's the way it used to be. But Jim Lang last hour was on and said, you can't hit in the head anymore. So I guess there's that. And he said, had he not cross-checked them in the face, we wouldn't be having all this fuss and there wouldn't be all this talk. So that's been the balance of the show today. But I want to take it in this direction. 902-518-3033, by the way, is the text line to reach us here for Sober Carpenter, non-alcoholic craft beers. I could sit here and I want to tell you story after story after story of my Super Bowl 58 experience, working it, hosting an event Sunday, and broadcasting live there Thursday, Friday. But also, I want to bring in the audience too. And the spicy topic of the day is that we had a CFL All-Star asked to come on the show. We had it all ready to go. And then his team nixed it. And so we're not going to talk CFL football. It's their loss. Bob writes in. He is in, where is Bob? Where are you, Bobby? Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. He says, well, it's not the Riders for sure. They didn't have any All-Stars. Well, it wasn't the Riders. That's the thing. It wasn't. And we've had Rider players. They don't nix it, oddly enough. Brett Lowther's been on multiple times. Trevor Harris. It wasn't the Riders. No, it was not. But Brent in Wellington, Florida, who sticks with us every day. Appreciate you, Brent. He says the Dunkin' Donut commercial with Brady, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and J-Lo was hands down the commercial winner in my book. You know what's funny about that? We hosted a sober watch party at the Clark County Amphitheater. Froze our bejeebies off. And to be honest, I had to leave in the second half and go to the airport to fly home. But and I'm hosting a party. Darren's hosted parties. He's been around me. When you're hosting a party, you don't get to watch, you're hosting. But that's the one ad that I saw. I feel, Darren, it was like everybody saw these guys in orange jumpsuits. It's like, is that Ben Affleck? It was really funny. And then J-Lo at the end, she's like, you don't have to leave, Tom. That was the only one that I saw. So I'll say it's my favorite too, but I thought it was fantastic. Did you get the American feed? What was your Super Bowl commercial experience? Yeah.
And just so you know, I was out with friends and you know where I was and who I was with. So I didn't have my, what do you want to say, access to my American channels to watch the American feed?
Fair. Yeah.
So we're watching on TSN, which is fine. Did see the commercial, and I don't know if you saw this one with Vince Vaughn and Tom Brady. I think it was for BetMGM. It was for BetMGM. And the whole commercial was about, as long as you're not Tom Brady, you can with whoever. You can play on our platform. As long as you're not Tom Brady, because he's won enough, and he's not allowed to win anymore. And so then there's Tom Brady in a disguise trying to get on there. He's like, what about 7-time pool champion, Pablo, blah, blah, blah. And he's got a mustache and a cowboy hat on. And it was pretty funny. And then Wayne Gretzky popped in there. He's like, how come Wayne Gretzky gets to be on here and I don't? And then Wayne's like, hi, Tom. And Tom's like, hi, Mr. Gretzky. And it was a pretty good commercial. And Vince Vaughn was the host of the whole thing. That one was my favorite that I saw.
Well, I want to say something. I'm glad you brought that up. And thank you, Brent in Wellington, Florida, for mentioning that. I was saying it to Jim Lang. I didn't see hide nor hair, as my mom would say, of Tom Brady Super Bowl weekend in Las Vegas. And to be honest, nobody was bringing that up. There was enough celebrity as it was. And I'll be honest with you. The guy wrote in here last hour, he's trying to get my goat, saying rude things about me. And I'm like, no, I'm not that significant. When you look at a guy like Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, and he's not even at Super Bowl, and people don't even notice. Not that I heard. Justin Bieber was there. They had live coverage of him walking into the stadium. Clearly, Taylor Swift was there. All the greats. People were sending me photos. Dana White. I don't even know who was the biggest of the big star. Probably Bieber that was there, but Tom Brady wasn't. And it's kind of a dual thing. Tom's so big, he's over it. He doesn't need to go to the Super Bowl. He's been to enough. And as Jim said last hour, he'll be calling the Super Bowl next year with Fox. So Tom takes a knee on this one. But then on the flip side, the Super Bowl will go on without Tom. And to be honest, it hurts my heart to think that people think the biggest story in the NFL this year was Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, because they might not even stay together. Have we thought about that? Tom Brady's retirement on February 1st, 2023 wasn't even the top story in the NFL this year, as voted on by our viewers and sports fans. There's a message in there, Darren. This isn't a recency bias vote. People don't care what you did. They don't. You're not that significant. And that's what I live by for myself. You're not that significant, Rod. And people think because he hosts his own show and he's doing this, he must be really arrogant. Nope, not that significant. Trust me. But what's the message in that Tom Brady doesn't go to Super Bowl and nobody even notices?
I know. I did notice, I think he was in Vegas at some point during the week because I thought
was he okay?
Something popping on social. He was somewhere. But anyways, it's not about Tom, and I think he realizes that that's one thing he's so good at crafting his own brand and his own messaging that, you know what, I'm not going to go somewhere and just get lost. The moment doesn't fit me in this situation. So I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to step back. And when it's time to step forward, he just knows when to pick his moments and when to be in the spotlight and when not to. And it works for Tom. And perhaps, as Jim said, in our last segment, perhaps Tom Brady was sitting working. Perhaps he was calling the Super Bowl in his own little world, in his own studio with whoever was doing play-by-play beside him. Perhaps Tom Brady was calling the Super Bowl last night, and nobody heard. And wouldn't it be cool to get your hands on those tapes of Tom Brady calling a Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl? If that's indeed what he did. We don't even know what Tom was doing.
Yeah, I don't need it. I know that it would be great. I don't need to listen to it. Whatever Tom does is great. But for those that don't know what Darren's talking about, Jim said it last hour. He's basically been calling games into a tape recorder, if you will, to practice for next year when he's doing color. And that doesn't surprise me either. Speaking of color commentary, Larry in Medicine Hat writes in and he says, Jim Nantz must go crazy when Tony Romo is predicting plays before the ball is snapped. I don't think so by now. And I don't know if you saw, Darren, I put it on our Facebook page last night. I'm like, I don't get all the hate for Tony Romo. It's because people want to crap on everything. Boy, everything's flowing into nice synergy here because this is going to roll into our discussion about the halftime show. Like the second Tony Romo started doing color, I wasn't a fan, but that's just me. I'd have thrown him out of the booth. But he's survived for a long time. And I know that he deals with a lot of hate for what he does, but it's his style. Have we not realized yet? Anything goes in this world of the media. Anything goes, dude. Say what you want. It's 1:11 Eastern, by the way, and I don't even have my bell to ring it. So just trust me when I say that. Take a sip. and imagine a positive outcome to your current quagmire. What do you got to lose? But anyways, it's a different style. And because I watched the second half very closely yesterday at the airport of Las Vegas, him and Jim Nantz get along. I'm getting a little over the narrative. Every time I open my inbox, I go to yahoo.com. That's where my email is. And I saw a headline on the weekend. Jim Nantz forced to defend color commentator Tony Romo. Why are we doing this? And I didn't even click on the story. I don't know why he had to defend him. It's dumb. And he's doing it like every 6 months. Jim Nantz has to come out and defend Tony. And it's not like Tony Romo's doing anything wrong, by the way. He's not a dumb guy. There's just haters. There's haters everywhere. So moving on to the halftime show. I left our Sober Bowl party at halftime. And to be honest, I shouldn't have. I should have stayed to watch Usher. I didn't even think about it. I'm not a big Usher fan. I know one of his songs, OMG, and I like it. I have it in my musical library on my cellular phone. I don't hate Usher, but I don't love Usher. I never even thought to stay. If it was George Strait, I'd have stayed and watched. So I didn't see him sing a bar. But guess what? People that I like on social media taking to their Facebook and Twitter saying how horrible it was the worst halftime ever. This matches the game. It's terrible. It's boring. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Why did I even open up my phone? Was it as bad as I've read?
It started that way. It wasn't great. The audio was weird at the beginning. You almost didn't hear Usher very good, or he wasn't singing. But I will say this, man, can that guy still dance? He can move. Like, he is gliding across the floor. He still has it. And he was working his butt off. You saw by how much he was sweating last night. So it started a little slow, but then we saw a couple things happen during the performance as it went on. Alicia Keys popped in, playing the piano. She started singing, and that was good. And that raised Usher's game a little bit. And then you saw Little John pop up in kind of the crowd off the stage, and he's doing his thing, right? Shots. And that brought the energy. And then who popped out? Ludacris popped out. And then all of a sudden, this became like a club mix from the early 2000s. And it was like, okay, here we go. And then that brought Usher's game up, and he started singing a little more. And I thought, you know what? The performance started slow, and I was like, this is not going to go down as a top performance in the halftime shows of Super Bowl. But as it went on, and they brought out Alicia Keys and Little John and Ludacris, it got good by the end, and the energy was there. And I thought, you know what? They saved the halftime show. So overall, it won't go down as one of my favorites. I won't really remember it, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
We invite audience participation. We're the only show that does it. We're the most interactive show on television, radio, and streaming. Monty in Saskatoon writes in and he says, he danced like Michael Jackson. Thank you. Darren in Salt Lake City says, the roller skating bit was great. Allie in Texarkana, Texas says, Alicia was flawless and Ludacris is such a talented person. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I prefer Troy Aikman as an analyst. Apparently Jim Nantz and Tony Romo love each other. I get the sense that they do. So I get that they get along, and that's what you want. This Aikman thing, I've been thinking about Troy. Number one, if I may, I was mistaken for Troy Aikman yesterday.
Go on.
Not like somebody came up and said, can I get your autograph? But this guy, it was a security guard at the Sober Bowl event. He saw me. You saw the way that I was dressed in my best Colin O'Brien suit, best Men's Warehouse white collared dress shirt, and a couple of championship rings. And a security guy goes, wait, you look just like Troy Aikman. And I said, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. But everybody's talking about what Troy said a few years ago when he said, get back to me when Mahomes wins 3 Super Bowls, which, to be honest, I don't think that's arrogant. But Troy Aikman could fart into the microphone, and I would think, nothing wrong with that. That's me and Troy. But everybody's saying, oh, what's Troy saying now? Mahomes has tied him. Well, so he's tied him. And I guess if he goes on to win more Super Bowls, he will be better than Troy because they count these things. But as far, it still bothers me with the comparison of Mahomes versus Tom Brady because he's not even halfway to catching Tom. So it's fun to talk about, but until he's knocking on the door of number 7, I don't understand why you would even talk about it. And I don't think Troy's waking up today angry, but I think he's realizing maybe his spot in history is a little bit in jeopardy. That's a fact. We'll be back with more, and people want to talk about the NHL games tonight, so we'll get to our NHL Bet Regal breakaway bets coming up in this next segment. Coach Phil reacts coming up this hour, too. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
The SJHL raffle is underway with your chance to win a brand new Polaris side-by-side, courtesy the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Tickets are available now until April 23rd, with the draw taking place live on SJHL Insiders April 27th. 1 for $25, 3 for $60, or 10 for $100, but there are only 5,000 tickets available. Get yours today at sjhlraffle.ca.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445 or log on to deervalleygolf.ca.
Welcome back to the RP Show, everybody, on a Monday, episode number 1178 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. And before we delve back in to the meat of the matter, we've been deficient in our sponsor mentions today. So I'll tell you right now, the Telemiracle 50/50 draw is another way to support Telemiracle and also have the chance to win half the jackpot. We're getting close to the deadline. It's about 10 days or so, but this is a win-win for Saskatchewan residents. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, please do so now. telemiracle5050.com. You just have to physically be in the province of Sask to buy those and support Telemiracle 48, Saskatchewan's charity. And also, the top men's curling teams are now into the nitty-grit. We're starting to figure out who's going to be representing all of the provinces for the 2024 Montana's Brier, presented by AGI. And tickets are on sale now at curling.ca/tickets. You can purchase tickets for as little as $24, depending on the seat in the draw. All youth tickets, all draws, just $9.99. So let's pack the Brandt Center, curling.ca/tickets. Okay, you let me know when you're ready to go, Darren. But my guy, Chris Sanford, Chris from the Bronx, watches every day. And I love him for that. Because he doesn't love all of our topics. He's a New York sports guy. He loves the Giants specifically, a little bit the Rangers. He's got a great Ron Duguay story. But he asked me how that flight was last night, and I didn't even tell you this. I raced to the airport, and I'm kind of digging Spirit Airlines. I've never really flown Spirit before, but they let me check in 5 hours before my flight last night. I had nowhere to go, right? Between the second half of the football game and a 10:30 p.m. flight that was leaving to flying all night here to Miami. So they said, come on in. I said, well, I don't think we're allowed to do that. They're like, come on in. That was nice of them, right, Darren? And I'm at so I get in, I got 5 hours. I bought a pizza. Don't tell Serena. I ate 3/4 of a pizza watching the second half of the football game and had a Diet Coke. Life was great. And I saw this guy milling about the departure gate in an Elvis uniform. Elvis outfit, the white sequin with a cape and the bell bottoms. I'm like, oh, that guy's got huge balls wearing that around a bunch of adults. But it is Vegas where everything goes. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, I'm struck by the sheer size of this man. Huge. I'm a big guy. I told Serena when I got home, he had 100 pounds on me and was at least 6'5", 6'6". So as I looked at my ticket, I'm like, because I didn't pay for a ticket, like, what do you call it? Seat selection. I'm like, we spin the wheel of sit me wherever you want. I'm like, 3A? That ain't bad. That's a window near the front. Life's good. I get on the plane. Who's in 3B? Elvis. And for the 4-hour plus flight, Elvis has his elbow jammed into my ribs, and I'm all crammed. I was on the verge of, quite frankly, having panic attacks. Like, my brother is claustrophobic. He doesn't like to fly. I got this monster beside me, Hulk Hogan in an Elvis suit. And I'm like, and I'm not a small guy. So Chris writes in, he says, holy spit. Not often you're the guy getting squeezed, huh? I mean, literally, of course. That's how Chris talks, everybody, just so you know. He says, looking forward to the show. And then he says, I sat next to Flava Flav on a flight from Vegas once. He's from the Bronx. Cool dude. I wouldn't have known that, Chris from the Bronx, until I looked up Flava Flav when I met him last week at Super Bowl. I mean, we all like his music, but I didn't know that he was from the Bronx specifically. I didn't know that he was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the people that I was with when I brought that up, they're like, really? Didn't know Flavor Flav was in the Hall. Not easily identifiable, Moose, I don't think. They don't get gold blazers when you go into the Hockey Hall or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't think you get a ring like the Rough Riders Plaza of Honor. Yeah. So I was a little struck by how little he was. I would rather have sat beside Flavor Flav than the beast of the Elvis impersonator. I can tell you that.
Well, it gets me thinking about what's the worst airplane etiquette, because
farting.
So as you know, I was back in Sask calling curling, and those days were long, like up at 7 a.m. Last game's over at 10:30. You debrief, maybe have a couple of drinks, and 1 o'clock hits pretty fast and you don't get much sleep. So when I'm flying home, I'm like, I just want to get a little sleep. I'm a little run down after all that time on the air. So I get in my seat and I'm leaning up against the seat in front of me. That's how I sleep, right? Hands up here on the seat in front of me.
Oh, really?
And I get about 20 minutes into the flight and I'm dozed off, and all of a sudden, wow, the seat flies me in my face because the person in front decided to recline their seat for the whole flight. And the worst part is I looked around. They weren't even leaning back. They were leaning forward too, just wanted to recline the seat. So I said, I guess I'm working now. Pop open the tray table, but because it's so in my face, I'm typing on the keyboard like this because the seat is so far into my face. I think reclining your seat is a sin on the airplane. Unless everybody reclines their seat, I guess then it'd be okay. That's one I have trouble with because they cramp everybody in now.
My friend Mydale Mike, you know him. He's watching in Hawaii right now, and he coined the phrase, I like going places, but I hate traveling. I was sitting there yesterday killing 5 hours in the Vegas airport. First world problems, I understand that. But I'm like, this is getting long. And then sitting beside giant Elvis. Yeah. I know bathroom humor isn't where we want to go. I was listening to some guys on the national Fox Sports Radio the other day doing a long segment on bathroom stories. I'm like, that's too much. I drop in the odd comment, but I don't sit and talk about it for 15 minutes. But if you drop one on a plane, you should be put to death. What?
Yeah, I agree. That's horrible. Horrible. You know, it's almost as bad as taking up too much space. But I draw the line at people who get up and want to run to the front of the plane and cut in front of everybody.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
I don't know. So now I fly in the back of the plane. I don't pay for first class. I don't think you do either.
Nope.
But you and I have both been upgraded at, complimentary upgrades based on our status once or twice. And you realize how nice it is. You now term the back of the plane Gen Pop because that's what it feels like. You're just out in the prison yard and anything goes in the back of the plane. And you just better mind your P's and Q's and get off the plane and try not to let it bring your day down.
Yeah, just get me where it says on the ticket, please.
Yeah.
With as little drama as possible. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, when you got to go, you got to go. No, I understand that, but I'm specifically saying farting on the plane, like not leaving your seat and letting one fly because it affects everybody. It's not like I have not broken that rule, but I try not to. If the people around me are annoying me, different story. John Ohm is alive in Winnipeg. He writes and he says, trust me, there is little or no etiquette on airline flights. It's a gong show, right, Rod? That's why I don't want to travel anymore. You folks, up until last summer, saw me crisscrossing this continent, going all over the place. And until going to Super Bowl this week, I hadn't flown anywhere since August 26th. I just want to be in Florida and do this show, and that's it. I don't want to travel, man. Other than doing the events, which I told you the people from USA Football said to say hi to you. We're going to do those events. Monty in Saskatoon says, Rod is living the life in the USA. That is a fact, Monty. Thanks for noticing. Darren in Utah says, Mahomes needs to win a bunch in a hurry. Andy Reid may retire soon. Oh, I don't. That's an argument for another day because it's a good argument, but just not for today. Who's responsible for the Patriots' success? Is it Bill Belichick? Who's responsible for each other's success? I'd like to think Tom proved that. Okay. He left, and the next team he wins the Super Bowl with, whereas the Patriots have yet to replace Tom. You're telling me that Patrick Mahomes would not have won these Super Bowls without Andy Reid. That's a debate, Darren, for at least 10 years down the line. That's not a debate for today. Deal or no deal.
No, it's not a debate for today. But what is they said in their post-game statements up on the stage, they're trying to win 3 in a row. And we're pretty sure, I got to go back and look too, but it's never been done before. A team's won 3 in a row. So you want to have all the comparisons to Brady. That's going to be different. But you want to have the comparisons to the Patriots? You could go down as the greatest dynasty ever if you win 3 in a row. Never been done. And they have the chance to do that next year. And that's a hell of a storyline.
I saw somewhere, I read this morning, it may go in the next sports update, that the 49ers are already next year's favorite pick to win the Super Bowl. Did you see that anywhere?
No, but I believe it.
Why? Coming from the guy who thought Baltimore was going to beat Kansas City, you, along with Jim Barker, I'm not calling you out or anything. Hell no, you're way better at betting than me. How many times you need to realize you don't bet against Patrick Mahomes before you'll actually let that sink in? How are they not the favorites?
Just because you don't bet against them doesn't mean they need to be the favorites, right? Like they said in the postgame, The last 3 games to win the Super Bowl in the playoffs, the Chiefs were the underdog. And Patrick Mahomes screams into the mic. He grabs the mic and he says, that should teach you that we're never the underdogs. You know, I think betting lines and stuff will tell you that, okay, there's more talented teams out there. But yeah, you don't bet against the Chiefs. And that's interesting. It's a tough job for the sports books, for the odds makers to try and determine who's the favorite. But no matter where they put the Chiefs, I would say at the end of the day, they may not win 3 in a row, but they'll be in the mix come the playoffs next year.
I get what you're saying, and I appreciate your candor on that. They don't need to be a favorite to not bet on them. Absolutely. But in any league, Vegas wins the Stanley Cup, and coming back this year, they were the favorite in the NHL. I mean, I got asked so much in Vegas. Rod, what do you like most? Hockey or football to talk about? I'm like, hockey by a landslide, because that is my sport. That's the easier one. Football I'm good at, but hockey is just way easier for me. I'm not always right about that, but I think I have a better track record of success, which, by the way, now would be a good time. Good time to play our Bet Regal breakaway bets for our exclusive betting partner, Bet Regal. Sign up and play for free today. Join their club for free today at betregal.ca. Who doesn't like to belong to a cool club? You can at Bet Regal. There are only 4 games tonight in the National Hockey League. Let's go. There's no doubt what the game of the night is, but we're leading, and it's not this one. Seattle at the New Jersey Devils. Who do you think wins that game, Moose?
Give me Seattle on the road.
Ooh. They're really, okay, I'll go with New Jersey just for fun because I really have no feeling on this game. So I'll take New Jersey. Darren takes Seattle. The Calgary Flames at the New York Rangers. I see the people, Justin Bourne, good friend of ours, going for the gratuitous tweets and reaction on the weekend saying, what's going on with the Flames? What do they won? 4 in a row, I think. He said, what's happening here? Now they're playing well. They're getting their act together. This should not be a shock to anybody. They're a good team. Okay? That's underachieved since 2004. And I think the Rangers will put an end to it tonight. But I'm taking Rangers over the Flames. You?
I'll take the Flames then to take the other side. I'm okay with that. I think the Flames are interesting because everybody's mad that they're winning now because they think they're just going to end up in, they're calling it the murky middle, that they need to lose to get this thing right. Since when did we think winning was such a bad thing? If they go on a streak, get into the playoffs, and make it to the Stanley Cup, are we still going to be upset that they didn't lose to get a high draft pick?
Yes, they will. It's a Calgary thing. It's hard to explain. And they're not even wrong. I get it. I do. Arizona at Philadelphia, I'm taking the Coyotes.
Okay, I'll take the Flyers in that one. Yep.
And Minnesota at the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights back home after this roadie. They got out of there during Super Bowl. Who do you go first? Who do you?
I'm going to take Vegas.
I'm going to take Minnesota. I have not read any coverage on this at all, but it would seem to me that it's Marc-Andre Fleury's return.
Yeah.
To T-Mobile Arena. And I wouldn't bet against a pissed off Marc-Andre Fleury. Jason in Red Deer says the Flames do seem to always be mediocre. Exactly. Monty in Saskatoon writes in and he says the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl next season. Monty, don't start. He's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not interested in getting into. No, not today. I'm debating. I'm still a Cowboys fan. That as what I've become the guy that doesn't plan my weeks around the Cowboys games. And guess what? Life's better. Okay, great job, Moose.
Thank you.
Have a great RP show day. We'll chat with you tomorrow. Coach Phil reacts for you CFL fans and football fans in general. Joins us next. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RP Show on a Monday, episode number 1178 already of your favorite daytime sports talk show. And I'm quite excited about this. I'm excited generally, but I'm excited to bring in Coach Phil Reacts. I'm not going to read his bio because we don't have to. We're just going to call him Coach Phil. He is that personality. He is that guy. And he joins us from Seattle, Washington to talk a little ball, Super Bowl 58, and look ahead to the 2024 CFL season, but also free agency. Coach Phil, welcome back to the RP Show. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Glad to be back, brother.
In 60 seconds, please, what is your take of Super Bowl 58? The whole thing, all of it.
The Niners choked once again. Deebo Samuel is a glorified running back. Kyle Shanahan, for all the things they say about him being an offensive genius, he didn't know nothing about the overtime rules in his team. He set his team up for failure. That's it. That's it.
That's on the field. And then I heard you and Moose DuPont talking in the break about the halftime show. You had some thoughts on that?
I saw a lot of people on Twitter say that Green Day was better than Usher's performance. Look, if you didn't live through that Confessions era, album era, you will not understand how great Usher is.
Okay, fair. I mean, I like two kinds of music, Coach Phil. This won't surprise you. Country and Western. And to be honest, I do like 90s. What would you call it? Dance music, I guess. So I guess, I like that a bit. It has a bit of the same. But as far as today's acts and that, I'm just not that into it. So I didn't even watch the halftime show, and that's a little bit on me. I was getting out of Vegas. I was getting to the airport. You know how that all goes.
Yeah.
But I gotta leave it up to those that watched it. But those were very succinct. I appreciate that analysis of the game and the halftime. So to just move on, how do you feel about the fact that the 49ers are the favorites already for next year? Agree or disagree?
I would have to say disagree, just because the NFC is going to get tougher. There's no guarantees. And you can make all those predictions you want to, but nobody wins the Super Bowl the day after the last Super Bowl. Got work to do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And you mentioned the NFC changes. You're sitting there in Seattle. I would assume you're a Seahawks fan. What's life going to be? Yeah, what's life going to be like without Pete Carroll? Unimaginable, I would think, for a lot of your fan base.
I think the culture had to change with new players. We can't do what we did from the 2013 to about 2018, 2017 era. We don't have that same team. So we had to have, it was time to get a new voice. They did that, and we're just going to see what happens. Give it time. And same thing with like the writers. We had to get a new voice in there after a few years, and look what he's done so far. Give him time, let it work.
You are a football guy to the bone, and I actually, it's interesting you say that. Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll won a lot of games together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you've got a coach and a quarterback, they're the backbone of your team. Belichick, Brady, not Prescott and McCarthy, but they haven't won anything.
Right.
Are you in agreement with me that if you got a coach and a quarterback like those tandems, you got something? But if you're missing one of the two, you don't have a chance.
The best example I can give is, and I'm gonna take it back a little bit. Terry Bradshaw and Chuck Noll. Terry always said, I just wanted him to respect me and say that he loved what I did. And you don't have to like each other. You don't have to like each other to win ball games. Pete Carroll and Russell, even though everything happened after Super Bowl 49, there was that tension, whatever. At the end of the day, we're here to win ball games. And that's what they've done. And it's out of respect. It's crazy.
You can't argue with that. Now, you mentioned the Riders. They got a new coach, and everybody's very excited about that. They got the same quarterback coming back, but he didn't last half a season last year in Trevor Harris. So that was a nice segue over to the Canadian Football League. You made it. Free agency is tomorrow.
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
As far as the Ed Hervey Day type thing, that was crazy to watch. But there was moves already happening weeks prior. The one move that surprised me the most was my boy Dominic Rhymes. Shout out to him. Getting released and then going back to Ottawa. That surprised me. And then Darius Pickett going to Ottawa so far. Ottawa have done a great job capitalizing. But we just have to see what the next moves happen. There might be some trades. There might be some more free agency moves. Who knows? But we're going to see.
It's even the most diehard of CFL fans are admitting it's a little anticlimactic. Like, I mean, you're a football guy. I've been watching this from Super Bowl week going, I don't think, and I was sitting with Coach Reinbold, and we're like, I don't think this worked out the way they expected this pre-week, this legal tampering thing. Like, it's one thing to get an offer from another team, and then you take it back to your current team and have them the opportunity to match. If they don't match, we're announcing the deal. I think they kind of would have liked them to hang on until tomorrow. No?
Yeah.
Did I misread that? Or
No. So like, it feels like, I guess for here in the States and like NBA, NFL, it's restricted free agents. It feels like what it all is. You can call it what you want to, but you take your offer from another team back to your own team, and they say, nah, we're not going to match that. I understand. It is what it is. There ain't a lot of money to go around, so you gotta get while the getting's good.
yeah, and to ask them to hold off until February 13th to make that announcement of switching teams, like your boy Rhymes, would be almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
But it's kind of ruined what's normally Christmas for CFL fans.
Yeah,
because I don't even know who's left of a big name.
There's one that I think would be a culture changer. Simone Lawrence. I think he's a free agent. I think even though Simone is a great player, but wherever he goes, if he goes back to Hamilton, that's great. But if he goes anywhere else, he's still going to be a person that can make plays for a team and still be a culture changer in a way. He can go to a contender. Same thing with my guy Jackson Jeffcoat. I know he said he retired. I have a feeling that if the right offer comes, he'll come out of retirement. He'll go make something happen. So we'll just have to see.
So if you were sitting here right now doing a board of top names on the free agent list, Simone would be at the top for you. That's who you're watching the most?
Yes, I'm watching Simone. I'm watching all the big names are pretty much gone. But as far as right now on a Monday, yes, Simone's the top name. If anybody makes the right offer to Jackson Jeffcoat, he's number 2. I really can't think anybody's off the top of my head right now that just those 2 right now.
Yeah, I'm really interested to watch where Jake Dolegala goes. He was a really big name in Ryderville last year, and you now have spent enough time there. That's your team. You're wearing the jacket. Yep. The fans always love the backup. So when I was in Sask last summer, everybody's like, put Dolegala in, put Dolegala. I'm like, why? Like, well, he's a giraffe. He can see over the line. And then they put him in, and they're like, whoa. He didn't light the world on fire, but I think they would have liked to have had him back. What is your take on the Riders going into free agency since that is your team?
I think we've made some good moves. I think we've done a lot of going to get Malik Kearney, going to get obviously the big one, AJ Lett, re-signing my guy Sean Bain Jr., shoring up the offense, and going to get Yoshi. That Winnipeg was not happy. A lot of Winnipeg fans were not happy about that, but that's just business. We've made moves where we got the vet we needed for the line to shore things up. We got to get we might have a running back in the backfield. I'm not sure about that, but as far as the quarterback position, we got Trevor. I still think we need to give Jake another chance. I give it to him. So we're making things happen.
He hasn't signed yet, right? And it was a bad offensive line. There's no doubt. Yoshi will help a lot in that regard, but it's going to take. And the other thing, Coach, you would get this, and Rider fans aren't stupid. They just don't want to admit it. I think it's going to be a slow start for them because they got new coordinators and a new head coach, Mark Mueller on offense, Corey Mace on defense, and he's the head coach. That's going to take at least, in my mind, 6 games to work through that.
Yeah, it's going to take, and that was something that I had tweeted about was, can we just get to training camp first before everybody starts crowning us the champs? Nobody wins Super Bowls, Grey Cups, Nets championships off of just based off of transfers, as we saw with Coach Prime, free agency in the NFL, and then right now at training camp. The culture has to be established, the system has to be put in place, and it's going to take time. We are not going to be world beaters out the gate. Just slow down, relax. You'll be all right.
I don't know who's going to pay for your therapy bill when you realize you can't talk sense into them. And I'm not talking noise because I'm one of them. I was raised in the 306 for half a century, but you ain't never, or at least paying for your bandage bill for banging your head against the wall. Have you realized you're not going to make any difference, Phil, in how they react?
I'm stubborn, but the time's coming. I like Coach Mace. I like the staff that he's built. I like that he went and got my guy Jordan Lennon from Edmonton. This is going to be a different ballgame. It's a young staff. Let the young guys cook, but I think Coach Mace is the guy to bring it all together and hone the players together and hold the locker room accountable. That's it.
There you go. It will be fun to watch. Coach Phil, as always, top shelf. Enjoy free agency, man. Let's do it again soon.
Oh, one more thing. Is it okay if I give a quick shout out real quick? Hey, this is for Geno Lewis. Just let you know, brother, when we do this basketball game, we're having a one-on-one basketball game in Edmonton. I promise you. You ain't never seen nobody like me, brother. You're going to take the L.
Talking some noise. Laying it down.
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Phil. Thanks, Phil, man. Keep it straight out there in Seattle.
Yes, sir. You take care, Ryan.
Coach Phil Reacts joining us from the Emerald City. We'll be right back with overtime after this. We're live on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518 3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Hey, everybody, welcome back for overtime. And guess what I found? Ding, got the bell just in time for the last segment brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, where skill and fun collide. Hey, have your team all-star skills competition there. Give them a call. Ask for Randy or Michelle, 28th Street Northeast in beautiful Calgary, Overtime Hockey Lanes. Speaking of Cowtown, Trevor is watching. He is in Red Deer, Alberta. And he writes it and says, "Good day, gentlemen. Happy Monday. Looking forward to seeing the Flames continue their winning ways at MSG tonight. Does this week pass by without a Tanev or Hanifin trade? Love the show." That's from Trevor. Well, because I've been up to my eyeballs in Super Bowl stuff, I've narrowly even looked at the NHL standings. I'm not like all the NHL fans who have just been hanging on it every day for their team. Where are the Flames right now? I know they're on a streak. They've got 55 points. They're 3 out of a playoff spot, and they've won 4 in a row. So does this well, where are we on this, Flames people? Can you understand with Masai Ujiri gashing his team, the Raptors, going into a full rebuild, not hiding it? That's how you do it. And I'm just wondering, Trevor, where you are on that ledger. Are you now the guy that doesn't want to rebuild because we're winning some games? Because I feel like a very large part of Calgary, segment of Calgary and Flames Nation is saying that. And that's why you need a strong leader to pick one. And to be honest, I'm not sure that we're at the spot with the Flames that they are going to do that. So if I'm a betting man, and if I was, I'd have won money on the Super Bowl yesterday, I would say no, they're not going to trade those guys. Brent, hanging with us through the whole show in Wellington, Florida, writes in. He says, 2 sports that are almost impossible to pick a champion at the beginning of the year are football and hockey. I know. That's why so many people don't want to do it. Go out on a limb. I don't care. I'd like to think that people don't remember, but they always remember because I rub it in my face. Interestingly, when I'm right, they never come back and say, you were right, Rod. Regarding Super Bowl commercials, Max in Toronto writes in and he says, the one with Wayne Gretzky is the only one that stood out to me on the Canadian feed. Again, I was at Super Bowl in frigid Clark County, and I wanted to tell some stories about that. Clark, I looked at a map of this amphitheater, and I'm like, it's going to be in the middle of nowhere. And my boy Dean drives me there, and I'm like, oh, it's right across the street from the North Outlet Mall. If I have time today, I'm going to walk over there. I need a new jacket. It got so dang cold, and you understand, I'm a weather wuss, so I don't like, it was single digits Celsius, but the wind was picking up. It was uncomfortable. More so, what do you Canadians say? If you dress for it, it's fine. You're right. But I wasn't dressed for it. So there was a lot of these parties that were outdoors, like ours was, were poorly attended, or those that did go didn't stay. And they're saying Vegas may not get another Super Bowl because of the weather. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't what everybody was expecting. I heard people at the airport saying people are getting off these planes in shorts. Do they not understand? Do they not look at the forecast? Oh, we go to Vegas. Woo! Bring your parka. Sports update on this Monday. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid have made the Kansas City Chiefs a dynasty, and they're already thinking three-peat. Chiefs, of course, won the Super Bowl 25-22 in overtime over the 49ers Sunday night. The 28-year-old Mahomes is just the fifth starting quarterback to win 3 Super Bowls, joining Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, and Troy Aikman. Canadian Nick Taylor is nearly $1.6 million richer today after winning the PGA's Phoenix Open. Taylor from Abbotsford, BC, drained an 11-foot birdie putt to beat American Charlie Hoffman on the second hole of a playoff Sunday at TPC Scottsdale. Sports update brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Anyone But You, the Valentine Encore. This edgy comedy features Bia and Ben, who look like the perfect couple, but after an amazing first date, something happens that turns their fiery hot attraction ice cold until they find themselves unexpectedly thrust together at a destination wedding in Australia. Man, starring Alexandra Shipp and Glenn Powell. Does that sound like something you might be interested in? And we're also brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Visit commoncrown.ca. And by the way, they're huge fans of the Flames and the Oilers there. So that's the big one tonight, Calgary Flames at the New York Rangers. We're inside our final minute here, just checking in on the comments. Allie in Texarkana says, great show today, RP and squad. Have a great day. Thank you, Allie, for joining us and being a part of this and making us part of your day. Randy in Winnipeg says the Flames are not in yet, but they're in the hunt. Right, and then that'll fool them into not making any trades like they should do. Randy in Winnipeg says, anybody notice? Where did it go? I lost it. But all the teams that are tied with the same amount of points. Oh, here it is. Anyone notice the Leafs Wings, same amount of points? Yeah, I didn't, but thanks for pointing it out. Great show, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, noon Eastern, right here.